1,000 people already. I'm
No,
sorry.
but now you are. Okay, we are live. What's up, guys? So I'm going to be moderating a debate between Educate Tyrone and We Waffles. It's a pretty interesting discussion. I might weigh in here or there, but primarily my role is going to be as a moderator. So if you guys hear me be a little bit more quiet, not talking much, it's not because I'm tongue tied. It's just because that's kind of my role in this thing. Okay, so just quick rules, and a lot of these are common sense. One, there's going to be no talking over each other. Two, there's going to be no personal attacks. And three, you have to answer the question the other person asked. So, meaning like, and I'm sure you guys would do that anyway, but yeah, if someone's like, yo, this is a question, you can't be like, well, in this other reality, like you do have to answer the question. Those are the only rules. We're going to go for probably like about an hour or so. And yeah, why don't you kick it off, Stefan?
Oh, hey, how you guys doing? Yeah, my main thing for this debate, just because a lot of people probably don't know why I'm debating wheat waffles. I mean, unless they are like one of the few people who've seen my channel already. Um, I don't disagree with him completely on the black pill. So I do agree with a lot of the principles they talk about. But my main like gripe with black pillars and wheat waffles is one of them is that um I think if they replaced looks with attraction, most of their theories would be more accurate. So like when you step out of online dating and just apply their theories to the real world, a lot of it falls short because like when you're dealing with women in the real world, especially like above average women, so even sixes or sevens, let alone eights, um you're it's not just based on looks because like first off attraction in the real world is based on multiple factors, some of which are less quantifiable than others. And then of course it comes down to the individual woman's taste as well. But then it's just if you're dealing with women that basically have a pool of options of endless attractive men, if you date women above a certain point, it actually heightens the importance of these other factors, whether it be quote unquote swag, presence, physicality, masculinity, wit, charisma, confidence, your voice, your literal voice, your pheromones, how you interact with bigger groups. If you appear like a leader of men, if you have visible pre-selection, if you have quote unquote local status, I think a lot of these other factors are heightened because in the real world, if you're a high tier normie, quote unquote, and you're competing with a bunch of sixes and then maybe some sevens, these other factors are going to come into play. I mean, and that's not even coming in, or that's not even considering game, which I do think is overplayed, of course, by a lot of red pillars. And just for context, I've never been red pill. I've always, I mean, like when I was younger, of course, I was blue pill, but like I feel like when you grow up in an urban environment, and a lot of probably Black American guys can speak to this, they either grow up black or red pilled anyway. But it's not really in the terms of like a guy that went to YouTube for it. It's more in the sense of like a lot of these guys in big cities surrounded by like their Tyrone cousins or their high tier normie black cousins or whatever, we're kind of at a young age, even if we're not super good looking, even if we're kind of awkward, whatever, we're pressured into, approaching, cold approaching, all this stuff at a young age. So I feel like when for instance, when I found the like pickup artistry, like Mystery and Neil Strauss and Mr. M and Cajun and all these guys and the Keys to the VIP guys and all that, when I stumbled on that, I think I was like maybe 19. So I was like a sophomore in college. And all of my friends, well, even black and white friends, because I went to a really diverse college, but none of us looked at pickup artistry as game. It literally was always a bastardized subsect of game. It was just its own little faction in the corner of like nerdy guys, or even a lot of guys who weren't even nerdy. They were kind of lame or awkward, and they kind of use other nerds as a scapegoat. And that's not to say some incels aren't nerds. Of course, a lot of them are high IQ, but I do find a lot of low or mid tier awkward guys who may look like a nerd, but they're really not that smart. But they kind of use the nerd blanket as a cover, so they can kind of feel included with other nerds or whatever. Which kind of led to my Educated Tyrone channel, because I thought I ran into a lot of like.
I'll just interrupt for 2 seconds.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Ask,
Alex, you can cut me off whenever I talk.
Yeah, let's get to a point here. I mean,
I was just
going to like a massive like life story thing.
Yeah,
which
I don't mean to be rude with asking this question, but I was just going to ask, did you propose to me a debate or a monologue?
wait, Alex. Before
Waffles, you're here to listen to a lecture.
Alex,
so sit down, grab your popcorn, and listen up. No, okay. Look, one thing I forgot to add to the audience, real quick, is that I want you guys at the end of this to honestly evaluate who you think won, and I don't want it to be based on like who you like more, just purely in the scope of this debate, based on their performance. I want you guys to honestly evaluate. No playing favorites or anything like that. Okay, go ahead, Waffles.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. I promise I won't. I'll promise this will only take about 45 seconds. Yeah, so I did take a couple of notes of the points you were making. I'll start with the first one. Honestly, I was a bit confused when you said about some difference between looks and attractiveness. And it's by the sound of like the first 30 seconds, it did sound like a little bit of a straw man because I haven't really like made any sort of distinction between that in my channel, in my content. But by the sounds of it, when you went on to explain what the difference was, it sounded like when you were describing attractiveness, it was encompassing a man's looks as well as his, stage presence, his posture, his aura about him, and all of the other sort of factors that go into his looks, really, like, but not specifically his looks, such as his, what's just on the surface, like his height, his face, and his frame.
Oh,
so you're talking about
my laptop's about to shut down.
Sorry,
it's my work laptop's forced. I'll be right back. It's only like 60 seconds, but I'll be right back. Sorry, I'll listen on my phone. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Okay,
it's all of those.
Okay, I guess so. Keep going then. I guess right because he said he's listening on his phone, or do you want to just wait until he comes back? It's up to you.
Yeah, well, if I'm honest, like when he started making his points, like I stopped taking notes after about 45 seconds because I thought like I had enough material to kind of go back off of, and then he just went on for like another 2, 3, 4 minutes. So like I kind of just stopped following after that.
Dude, I'm laughing so hard. Did you invite me here for a debate or for monologue? I'm dead.
What are people in the live chat saying?
They're laughing. Everyone's like laughing. Yeah. I'm starting to remember now because I did actually have. Okay, I guess he's gonna come back in a few seconds. I did actually have him on for a debate a long time ago. It was a while ago, so I forgot about it. But yeah, I do remember that he does go on tangents. I remember at one point I had to just like mute his mic, which I never ever do to guests because like I just would be like, all right, dude. And he just kept going. And I would have to like mute his mic and be like, all right, dude, hang on a second. All right, then let's come to a conclusion. Okay, and then like I'd have to basically do that. So I might have to do some of that as well. We'll see.
Okay, yeah. Well, just for the sake of fairness in this debate, I think it will be best going forward in case he does go on a bit again. Like maybe just interject and
I will. Yeah. I thought I was waiting for the monologue to end naturally, and then it just wouldn't.
Yeah. like if he if he makes like a solid point, like if you notice him then branching on to something else that's completely different, then that might be a good, like, because like not all points are the same length. Like one point might only take 15 seconds to explain, another one might take a full 90 seconds. But like if you do hear him branch off into something else, then it'll probably be for the best. Just
I should have added a no monologue rule in the beginning.
he thought that he'd bypass the rules. Well, I mean, you can't lose a debate if you don't let the other person talk, can you?
Oh man. All right, so guys, just quick context. We're just waiting for his laptop to restart. He did tell us in the beginning that he might have to restart his laptop once. Okay, there you go. Okay, adding back to the stream.
I think his real plan was to have a monologue for 30 minutes and then have his laptop, malfunction for the other 30.
Oh, Alex has seen me go on way longer than that. My other videos go a lot longer, but I heard I caught the gist of your point. I didn't know if you added in.
Well, let's let him finish his point because he just started his point, I believe. Go ahead, Weed.
Yeah, so I was a bit confused about you was making the difference between looks and attractiveness. I don't actually recall making any sort of distinction about that on my channel, and it did sound like a little bit of a straw man that you said that I was only caring about looks, and I wasn't taking into account with regard to a man's SMV in the real world, all of the other things that could go into his attractiveness, such as his posture, the people that he's with, like the general aura about him and everything like that. And then it kind of sounded like you did strawman me a bit because you said that I don't believe in that sort of stuff. But if I'm honest, by the way that you was explaining it, I actually did, largely agree with it. I think that if a man is in the real world, let's say that he's a 6 out of 10, he's 6 foot tall, and like got an okay to like slightly above average frame, then if he has all of the other things going for him, such as local status, a like good posture, and like he seems to know a lot of people around him, and he's got all of the other good stuff going for him, and he has the other things that you mentioned, such as his voice is deep and it sounds high testosterone, then yeah, in fairness, I would say that it might bump him up to a 7 in that specific environment. So I don't necessarily have an issue with that.
Okay, well, but just to clarify, I didn't think you didn't necessarily care about it at all, but it's just like in a couple of your videos where you break down the percentages of what matters more in certain environments. And I don't have the exact percentages in front of me, but it seemed like you overweighed you overweighed looks, even in like the warm and cold approach environments. Because we probably agree with online. It's pretty much like what 95% looks or whatever, but it seemed like even in the warm and cold environments, you admitted that other factors come into play, but you still kind of overvalued looks. Like in my opinion, things like voice, posture, like physicality. And I could use myself as an example because you rated me a 5. From my experience, if I was truly a 5, that would literally, it would just debunk the black pill. Because it just if I was to truly think my face is a 5, and then just apply that to just all the people going back from now, right from this moment all the way back to college, the black pill wouldn't even line up. It just wouldn't. Just because, in my opinion, the way that women rate men, they don't separate some of those factors. So, and mind you, I'm not talking about money or anything like that. I'm talking about things like whether it's your pheromones, your voice, your quote unquote swag. I don't think women separate the two unless it's specifically online, because I've seen a lot of guys who look literally 2 points higher than me, and there's either no difference between our experience with women, or women will literally rate me the same as him or higher, or like women rate a lot differently than black pillars, in my opinion. And I've seen a bunch of examples because I've just compared a bunch of guys that, not just you, but a bunch of like Tills and Dr. MGTOW and a bunch of other face raters. I compared guys they rated super low to Tyrones and Chads I know personally, and there's a gap in between, I think, where black pillars rate guys and where women rate guys. So
I do want to make one quick point with regard to the differences between women rating men and the way that black pillars rate men. And obviously there is a large difference, as many people will be able to point out. And I think the general consensus on this is that women tend to rate at least 2-3 points higher to a guy's face than what a black pillar might rate him. But I think the main cause of that is because women don't want to be seen as rude or impolite to a man's face with regard to giving him a low score, like a 5 or a 6. So they would, obviously bump him up by 2-3 points and say that he's a 7, 8, or 9 to make sure that he doesn't, feel butthurt from hearing the, low rating. So that was like the first point that I just wanted to get out of the way. But you mentioned something else, like that you said that I rated you a 5. I don't remember,
this was a while ago.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is
it must have
months
been a
ago.
while ago. I've honestly forgotten what you look like, but I don't know. I don't remember what you look like, and I don't know what your other stats are to say, like, you know, how tall you are or what your physique is like. So if you're able to, you know, tell me what those numbers are, then I might be able to give you a clearer picture.
Oh yeah, and just on the last point, I agree with you in terms of women giving a blue pilled response, and if they rate you to your face, they might up the points because they don't want to hurt your feelings. But I was talking about the way they rate you in terms of their treatment of you. So like the way, like for instance, a lot of high tier normie black guys that are for whatever reason get ratings, like whether it's insecurity or whatever. Um, and I've seen some of them be rated higher than me and some be rated equal. A lot of these guys, they literally look exactly like guys that I know that are treated super well by women. And some of these men are shorter than me, so it's not even the height pill. I mean, it depends on the, you know, there's all type of
How tall are you?
combinations, but well, me personally, I'm almost 6'1", so I'm 6'3" exactly.
Okay. Right, and how much do you weigh?
Well, right now I might weigh 145. I'm normally around 148, but I mean, like I literally have to work out just to gain weight. So
145. Wow,
yeah,
that's
I mean, I used to run cross country and track in high school. I mean, even before that, I was skinny. So once I got in shape, now I'm just super toned. But I mean, I've always been skinny. So
how old are you?
oh, I'm 34.
34. Okay. Wow, this is a bit surprising then because it doesn't really make sense in my head just hearing those numbers. Like, you know, you're 6'1", and I was like, oh, so it could make sense why he is you know, like having success in the dating market if he's only a 5. But then to hear 145, like I'm 5'10" myself and I weigh about 160, and people tell me that I'm skinny. And if you're both taller than me and you weigh less than me, like I can't imagine the kind of remarks that you're getting on a day to day. Like I'm guessing that a lot of people do pick up on your weight. Not. I'm not saying this in an offensive way, but it's just I'm guessing that might be the case.
Oh yeah,
You don't realize how much the energy expenditure that comes with giving monologues. That's what you're missing here, Wheat Waffles.
it burns a lot of calories, man.
Yeah.
That's the secret. But I get comments on that from a lot, like from women and men. But I noticed a lot of red pill guys and black pill guys alike. Uh, they would always say when they notice how skinny I am, they would say that I need to like gym max and work out and build muscle. And even in real life, since I've been young, everybody makes comments on my weight. But I've always got chicks and I've never had an issue. And I mean, even in black culture, there's kind of like a meme about like how skinny guys have, you know, there's a meme that people know about with like skinny guys, big things come in skinny packages or whatever, like the whole skinny guys with swag and the basketball player archetype. But even beyond that, just being a normal skinny guy all my life, I've never had issues getting women. I've never had to date down really. I mean, I've even said on air before, I've only messed with like three or four land whales at most out of like my entire life, out of 51 chicks. So it's like I don't.
51. Did you say
Yeah,
51 women you've been with in
out of
total?
51 lays, only 3 or 4 were big. And I mean, because one is like kind of borderline. She was like she was like slightly above, so like kind of chubby but curvaceous. So she was kind of like if she worked out like for like a month or two, she literally would have been like a fit thick type of chick. But as far as like certified land whales, as we call them, only 3 of them were land whales out of 51. So I always thought it was weird when people always said, "Oh, you got to gym max, you got to work out," and I'm thinking, I've never had an issue. Like I've never had a woman care that I was too skinny. Like if I was going out of my way to date a woman who already made it clear that she preferred like a muscular guy, that's one thing. But there's so many women that like don't mind talking to skinny guys. I never really got that, but
Okay, I think we are starting to get in a bit close to the bottom of this. Like I'm just looking, you know, a few comments in the live chat, and you know, it by the sounds of it, when you was first explaining like how you're having all this dating success in your life, I think that the issue that you was making is that you thought that maybe 50 was like a large number. I'm just
No, I
looking at
think 50 is pretty average.
Yeah, like that's what I was saying. Like I'm just looking at a few comments in the live chat, and they're saying, 50 is, yeah, it's decent, but it's not necessarily anything to write home
But
about,
also, I go by
especially at the age
quality.
of
I don't care
34.
about quantity. Oh, sorry, I thought you stopped. I'm sorry.
Like I was just gonna say, like if I'm pretty sure if you break the numbers down on, this, what does 50 work out at 34? If we assume that you started at 17, 18, I'm guessing that's only about 3 per year. And I'm sure, like we got Alex on the live stream right now. If he's maybe able to attest some of his numbers, like he probably would, think that 50 at 34, like he probably surpassed those numbers somewhere in his like 20s. So I think that maybe, do you want to just clarify on those?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I stopped counting around 40, 50, but I would say that I surpassed that in my mid 20s. But I will say it all depends on perspective. So the average when they do studies, they found the average guy's been with like 8 women. So if you compare it to that, 50 is quite impressive. That's like 500% more. If you compare it to like guys in the pickup community or like basketball players or like cool naturals, then it's not that impressive. So I think it really just depends on your perspective.
It does depend on perspective, and I also think it depends on the amount of resources and energy you're willing to expend in order to get a higher body count. And it's also dependent on how much you're willing to compromise both your standards and morals in order to increase your numbers. Like this is one of the main issues that I have with the body count, because it's so easy to get your body count number higher simply by one of two ways: either lowering your standards, so you're now going to take in 3s, 4s, and 5s, say, when if you only focused on the 6s and 7s and 8s, then your body count might only be like a third of the total number. And the second thing is compromising on your values. Like, are you willing to go with a woman who's married or in a relationship, say, just for the sake of increasing your body count? I personally would never do that. But obviously other people might be willing to go to those lengths because they value the importance of body count more.
Yeah, I do agree with all that. And I just want to say that I think quality matters more than quantity because, like I said, like when I look back on my life, and most of that body count was in my 20s, of course. I mean, I'm pretty much over the whole partying every weekend phase. But I always looked at it like I knew plenty of guys who, slept with more women, slept with less. And for context, I've had 6 girlfriends, from 18 to 30. So that was part of it. I wasn't always single, but I always looked at it like if I could get a certain amount of quality women, and out of that bulk of women, only, a few of them were like dating. I was dating down, supposedly. Most of them were on my level or slightly higher. So I just always thought that a lot of black pillars, they kind of they project too much of their personal failings into their interpretations of the data. And just as an example, because people don't have my picture, I don't have my profile on this computer. Hamza, I would say Hamza. A lot of black women I know, or a lot of women that I'm, friends with, they would see Hamza as like maybe a 6 or 7. Even like non-Middle Eastern women I know, like they, I've had a couple Bengali friends that look similar to him, right? You rating yourself a 6 and then rating him a 6, I feel like either your ratings are off or there's another factor in there that we're not accounting for in person. And obviously I don't know you in person, but like, I mean, you seem like a great speaker. You seem like you have a command of, like the language and rhetoric and everything. So, and you said, I think you're like 5'10", you're not short, you're not an ethnic person. You don't have any like super, now, I don't know if girls care about your ginger hair, if that's a niche thing, but I'm just saying from what I can see, you seem like a normal guy to me. If you were in Philly and went to college with me, I would assume you had a normal dating life. I would not think you were an incel. Now, I'm not saying that you would be a Chad or anything, but all I'm saying is if your rating of yourself is a 6, and then your rating of Hamza is a 6, and I know guys in my real life and from college who look exactly like Hamza, almost to the T, and they kind of have normal dating lives. So I'm thinking I don't, you know, if you want my honest opinion, I think you're overrating yourself a little bit because like if you said you were a 5 and you were having trouble in the dating market, I could kind of see that. But if you're a true 6, I think like true 6s pretty much have it okay unless they're short or something. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
Can I just clarify? Like maybe you do kind of get the impression from my videos, and it's understandable why that you think that I do struggle a lot in my dating life. But I honestly wouldn't even say that's the case at this moment in time, and it hasn't been the case for the last year and a half. Like you mentioned the word, incel, but I'd say that I'm very far from that. Like I've in the last year and a half, I've been in relationships for over a year of that, and like it only took me a month of splitting up with the first girl to go find another girlfriend after that. And these aren't, and again, this isn't dumpster diving. Like if I thought that if I was on the dating market right
I
now,
should have said black pillar, not incel.
yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
If I'm honest, like I'm not saying this in an arrogant way at all, and I know people in the live chat are going to rage, be like, "Oh, this guy, I can't believe that he's misleading us and everything like this." But I think that if I was on the dating market right now, I could easily get up to a double-digit lay count within the space of the next year. Like I could reach triple digits over the course of the next 10 years. Like if I fully put my time, attention, and resources to it, because I think that I would know how to like kind of optimize things. Like I don't think that I would struggle massively in the dating market. And to a lot of people, these might sound like fantastic numbers, getting 100 lays within the space of 10 years. But I still think this is like I saw a lot of people in the comments were saying like when I said that your lay count of 50 wasn't necessarily anything to write home about, people were saying, "Oh, I can't believe this, like how 50 is a lot." But compared to what some guys can get, compared to what a true Chad will be able to get, like I spoke to one guy in my private consultations who was a proper Chad. He said that he literally reached 50 in the space of 3 months. He was bringing over 4-5 from Tinder, purely from online dating, every single week. Like that is what a true Chad is able to do in the dating market. Like that is how like big the difference is.
You don't even need to be a true Chad to do that. When I lived in Austin for 3 months, it was something like 50 in 3 months. Yeah. I was dedicating a lot of time to it. You just need a really good Tinder profile and live in a somewhat decent city and have a good strategy.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, so this is, kind of what I'm talking about. Like, when I did downplay, like, and obviously there's no disrespect, like 50 is still, respectable, even to achieve at the age of 34. Like, as you mentioned, Alex, the average man's body count by the end of his lifetime is only 8. So, 50 is obviously well above average in that respect, but it does come down to perspective. So 50 might seem big in your eyes, but as I say, when you run the numbers down on that, that's only one new girl, like roughly every 120 days or so, 3 people per year, which when you picture it like that isn't actually that high. So if, a true Chad is able to bring a new girl home, once every couple of days or so, then that's when you really start talking into the triple digits and quadruple digits of lay partners over the course of a lifetime. And like that they're like the really impressive numbers. And obviously that's only if they want to invest a lot of time and resources into that path anyway, and if their main focus in their dating life is driving up their body counts. Because as I talk about the guy who's been able to get 50 girls in the space of 3 months, I've also had other guys who are true Chads, and their body count at the age of 30 was literally 1, because they've just been with one girl their whole life, and they've just been in a relationship since they were 18 years old. So it's all just dependent on what you're pursuing in your dating life.
Well, yeah, I agree. I mean, I've had 6 girlfriends, so again, I agree. Body count doesn't mean that much in terms of just the quantity itself, which is literally why I had that debate with John Anthony Lifestyle, and I literally brought up the fact that any Chad, quote unquote, or Tyrone with a body count between 50 and 500, most of them were the same. I mean, even me, I could have easily had a higher body count if for whatever reason I would, like, if I wasn't purple pill, like if I was a red pillar and I was just like, oh, I want to pump and dump a million chicks, I'm sure I wouldn't even had those girlfriends. I would have just, bedded them as long as they let me and then moved on to the next one or whatever. But yeah, I do agree with your point that obviously it's more about the quality and also the resources you put into it. Because me, I don't really use online dating, so most of my results are literally from warm approach. Um,
From
so
warm approach.
yeah, so
50 from warm approach. What
mo,
like line
mo,
of work or social circles do you have? Because like I don't even think that I could name 50 girls in my social circles.
well, when I say warm approach, so like when you go to college, of course you're going to have like instances of a female friend hooking you up with a friend or something like that. But a lot of my situations, it wasn't from, or my dating successes, it didn't come from situations where I went out of my way to cold approach a girl. A lot of times it was just situational. And
Well, I
I
think
feel like if you're in
college
a,
sorry, go on.
oh no, I was just gonna say I feel like if you're in an environment where, let's say you're not a Chad, let's say you're a normie, but you go to a big university and you're socially active, so you have access to a good number of women. And mind you, my university was I think it was maybe 2/3 women and then 1/3 men or something like that. Uh, it's closer to 50, but you get the point. It was a lot of women for every guy there, on top of me being living in a big city. So I would meet so many women just through, not even just friends, but just acquaintances. Just like literally, if you go to a party at an entirely different school, and just like someone knowing that, like, somebody, like someone knowing somebody from my school or something, and asking me where a party is at for 5 seconds, and just me meeting a new group or something. A lot of that stuff, like, yes, of course, it was technically me meeting a new group of people. If you want to give it a phrase, I call it lukewarm approach. So those situations, yes, I'm meeting a new group of people, but it wasn't the same as me going out of my way to stop a woman on the street who didn't even know I was there and talk to her. It was a
Yeah.
situation that was set up kind of, by my local status, by me knowing certain people, by me going to certain parties, or having certain mutual friends or acquaintances, even guys who barely knew me just off of a handshake. I might meet at a club, and they'll be like, "Oh, you go to school with Gary or something," or your friend's having a house party next week. Aren't you his roommate? What's your name again, or whatever? Like, I've met so many women through that. I think even the times I have successfully gotten a girl online, it has been Instagram. So I feel like even on Instagram, some of these other factors come into play where women aren't judging you just for your
Yeah,
look.
I think you're moving on to another point now.
Yeah.
I was just gonna, like
Yeah,
just
let's Stefan. I think we got to get to the point of contention, because now we're just kind of getting into like anecdote territory where we're all sharing fun little stories from our college days, which is
Yeah.
fine. Quite a few.
No, I was fine with him going on about the college thing, but then it sounded like he was about to move on to Instagram and how he met girls through.
Well, I want to see what the point of contention is, because it doesn't sound like there's
Yeah.
actually any point of contention. It sounds like you guys are just agree on this completely. That's just my perspective.
Yeah, I was just going to throw in that, like, I did agree with your point that college is kind of in that boundary of, both being a warm approach and a cold approach, because, you might share a class with a certain girl but never spoken to her in her life, and you don't even know her name, but then, you see her walking about on the campus and you approach her. Like, is that a cold approach or a warm approach? It's a bit of both, in my opinion. So I liked your term lukewarm, so it's kind of in between. And I was also going to throw in that, like, I've even mentioned in my videos that if you really want to go hard in terms of maximizing your potential in your dating life, university/college is, like, in my opinion, the number one place that you can do that, besides potentially moving abroad. If you're a white guy going to somewhere like Southeast Asia, then that might give you a whole different experience altogether. But as for the Western world, the numbers speak for themselves. As you say, like in your university, it was a 2-to-1 ratio between women to men, which where else are you going to kind of see those numbers being played out, especially when the women in university are all going to be in the prime sort of ages between 18, 19 to a max of like 23, 24. So, this is like as good as it gets pretty much. So I agree with that like if you really do want to go hard in your dating life, then yeah, university is like the place to go. And that's where you can really see some serious numbers.
Oh, I agree with that, what you just said. And Alex, when you were asking for a point of contention related to my point of when I was saying like black pillars, some of them project their own like speculation onto the theories which have truth in them. An example would be like wheat waffles looks maxing advice, and more so the hard looks maxing advice, like the surgery, the I don't know, the one on your eyelids is one common one I've seen. Um, I I want to say, I'm not going to say it's doom and gloom and it's like you're killing men's security and you need to be banned from YouTube. I'm not going to take that. I feel like that's a little overblown. But what I will say, I feel like when you give people certain advice based on like when you give your face rating, right? I feel like even if it's hit or miss, I feel like there's some value in that, right? To with someone like you who's measuring it objectively as far as the bone structure and symmetry and stuff. But when you go to the second step of offering someone hard looks maxing advice and telling them they should get surgery because they have a lot of eyelid exposure or they have a big nose, I feel like then it gets into the territory of you do have good intentions, but I feel like with some of these men that are insecure, that are actually sending in the face rating and they really are depending on it for like some clarity, they may take that advice to heart when it's really not even necessary. Just because some of these guys I've seen that you suggested surgery to, like on their eyelids or little things like that, literally, if women saw these guys, they would think you were joking. They would think you were trolling. So I think that's why when some people see your content, they get like hysterical and say, "Oh, you're destroying men's confidence and all. You're giving men body dysmorphia and you're manipulating insecure men." So I think that's why they say that, because some of your suggestions, they seem kind of over the top, and it seems like anyone with like more of a grasp of like reality wouldn't even offer that suggestion in the first place. And even like just as for I'll give one more example.
I think I'm getting the gist of your point. Like I think that
Can I clear it up for the audience, because I think it is a little so let me make sure I understand the point correctly, and then we Waffles can respond to it. So you're saying, and tell me if this is correct or incorrect, that you think that the hard looks maxing advice that we Waffles gives is unnecessary and excessive, and that he shouldn't be giving that advice. Is that correct?
For certain instances. So if it was a deformed person or something, that might be different. But if he phrased it in a way where he said, "Hey, this is a very minor thing, and this is a very minor surgery you could get for it, but I would suggest you get a face rating from a plastic surgeon. It only costs $45. Maybe you want their opinion first if you think it's really."
So you think he's too cavalier with the hard looks maxing stuff? Is that it? Okay.
Yeah. Honestly,
it's just fashion, and but yeah.
Honestly, like I don't disagree with your point. Like I think that there is definitely some truth to what you're saying, and maybe a lot of the times in my reports, I do give potentially unnecessary surgery options to guys when it's not entirely necessary for them. Like they could perfectly have a good dating life, even if without getting any of the surgeries that I might suggest to them. But like there's a couple things going on here. Like firstly, it's not my intention to attack guys' insecurities by suggesting surgery. Like if I say somebody you need to maybe get a surgery for your eyelids, then I'm not implying by that oh, your eyes are fucked, that you definitely need to get this surgery, otherwise no woman's gonna want to date you or anything like that. That's not at all the impression I'm trying to give off. And yes, I could include into the report something along the sort of lines that you were talking about, that this is only just a suggestion, you don't necessarily need to get this, you can still have a good dating life with or without the surgery. But if you do want to get your absolute full potential of looks and see absolutely where you could go, then getting the surgery might be an option for you. It could bring you up from a 7.5 to an 8 for all you know. Like a good example of that, I remember rating this mixed race guy who's like this guy was around a 7.5, like possibly even 8, and his only real sort of problem was his chin was a little bit recessed. It was nothing crazy bad, but it was still a flaw, at least on paper. And I did suggest to him, yeah, maybe getting a chin implant might be a good option for you. But I didn't include in the report that it was only a suggestion. And maybe he did go away from that report thinking, oh, like my chin is like holding me back. Like this is awful. Like, the black pill states that I should just give up dating forever now. Like that wasn't at all what I'm saying. But if that guy did want to improve his appearance anymore, then he obviously has that on the table as an option.
Stefan?
Oh yeah, sorry, I was muted. This my next point, because I didn't have anything to add to that last topic.
Yeah, I take your point on board. Like, maybe going forward, I will start including in the reports. Like this is only a suggestion. Like, I will give some context based on the attractiveness of the guy who I'm doing the report for, whether a potential surgery would be viable to him and how much, of an importance it might play going forward for his dating life. Because, as you say, for a guy who's a 6 or 7 or an 8. Then the surgery might just be supplementary. Like, it's not entirely necessary for him to succeed in dating. But if a guy comes to me and he's a 3 or a 4, and one surgery could literally transform his entire dating life, then yeah, of course, I might put a bit more emphasis on that, and I would say, yeah, this surgery here could literally boost you up by 1, 2, maybe even 3 points.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah.
How much do you account for the guy's personality, game, and social skills in the report?
Well, obviously, it's based on the very fact that it's an online report and people aren't, able to send me evidence of how good like their game or personality is. Then it's very limiting in that respect. I can't really go off the back of what their social skills are like. However, in one of the prelim questions of the report, I do ask them how introverted / extroverted they are, how confident they are, like questions like that to get an idea of where they are in the dating market with regard to their social skills. So then I kind of have two elements, both their appearance and their level of confidence too. But as I say, it is going to be very limiting based on the fact that it's online, and I don't know how somebody is in person, because I could ask somebody how good their social skills are, and they could be in complete delusion of how good their social skills actually are. I'm sure you get it all of the time with clients that you work with. People say, "Oh, I have brilliant game, bro. My game's the best around," and then you actually see their text conversations or something like that, and it couldn't be further from the truth. They honestly don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, my point of contention with that would be that if the guy has bad social skills, he can improve his SME to the moon. He's still going to get very lackluster results. So if a guy who's a 7, he becomes like an 8.5, and his social games are still dog shit, he's still going to get very diminishing return in his results with women because he's going to be turning them off with his horrible personality.
Well, his game, might affect his results a decent amount, but that's not to say that he can get any results anyway, because I've literally shown screenshots on my channel of guys that have done, they're called Chad phishing experiments, where guys pretend to be a Chad on dating apps, and they send flat out offensive and derogatory messages to the women that they're matching with, but the women love it, and they actually find the jokes that they're saying hilarious, and they end up like approaching them. They do all the work for the man and arrange the meetup and arrange everything. They pretty much take all of the weight off of the guy's shoulders with regard to him having to build rapport and set the tone. It couldn't be easier. Like the way that I put it on my channel is that in real life, as long as your jokes are more funny than they're offensive, then people will laugh. But on an online dating app, as long as your jokes are more funny than you are attractive, then women will laugh at them. That is like what I believe with regard to like how good your perceived game is in an online environment. It's largely based on your looks.
Yeah, so I do acknowledge the fact, and this is going to be the last point I make because I don't want to like be drawn in and like make it a 2-on-1 or whatever. But so the last point I'll make is, yes, I do acknowledge that there's definitely a double standard. So a guy who's much better looking might be able to get away with a lot more shit than a guy who's not good looking. However, I've also coached guys who are very good looking. I have friends who are very good looking. I think by all standards, they would be considered chads, and they struggle, man. And what I've seen happen with them, especially in like a bar type environment, yes, the girls give them a lot of indicators of interest, and they approach them, and then the guy opens his mouth, and then the girl rapidly gets turned off, and eventually she leaves. The only type of girls those guys hook up with are the girls who are super interested, and the girls who are just willing to do all the work. But that's actually not the majority of girls. Majority of girls at some point will get turned off when guys like awkward and shit. So that's just kind of my 2 cents on that.
Just notice how you mentioned bar in your example there. And obviously your channel specializes in online dating. So would you, kind of acknowledge the point that if a Chad is online, even if he has terrible game, he can still get, not necessarily unbelievable results, but at least average, especially when you consider the average results for a guy on online dating is, 0 or slightly above 0.
He's going to have to make special adjustments if he's super socially awkward. He's going to have to do straight to the house sexual dates, right? Where he sexualizes over text and then he invites her straight to the house. At that point, even if he's awkward, it's going to be hard for him to fuck up. But if he's doing like public dates, then yeah, the margin for error is a lot lower and he can definitely easily fuck up. If he's like super socially awkward, it is theoretically possible for him to still get good results as long as he makes certain adjustments and invites the girl straight over.
Stefan, did you want to have any input?
Yeah, I think what Alex is talking about, I would pretty much say it applies, like in my experience, it applies pretty much anywhere except online. Because like whether it's a bar, whether it's a day party, a concert, a woman can judge you and other guys within your same tier in real time. So those so in that the example of the Alex's Chad friend walking up to the woman and getting rejected even though he got an IOI, his quote unquote like swag and social skills and other things, the importance of that is heightened because I mean if you're at a bar or nightclub, if you're out, you're getting compared to the other guys in that immediate environment, and the other guys on your level that she already talks to. So if you look just as good as the guys already dating her and the other men in that same venue that are interested, of course that the quote unquote game or just a bunch of other factors besides game could be the thing that X's you out. But I don't know, Wheat Waffles, I wanted to ask you, I don't know if you've ever defined game, because I was trying to look for like I couldn't find a video where you said it, like what exactly it was, because I think we might agree, but I'm not sure.
What's game?
Because I think game is for managing logistics mostly. That's what
game. Well, game, to put it as simply as possible, I guess you could say that it's synonymous with your social skills, but then it also goes a little bit further with that it's also, there's different types of game in terms of dating strategies. So you could be doing numbers games, for example, and that has nothing to do with your social skills. But the concept behind numbers game means that you're just trying to approach as many women as possible. So game is kind of social. I would say that social skills is under the umbrella of game, rather than the other way around, because game can encompass a whole host of different other strategies too, but pretty much at its core, the concept of game, and all of its different branches, roots back to the strategies behind perfecting and optimizing your dating life and optimizing your chances of success.
I would agree with that.
Oh, and related to that, I just want to clarify because I'm not sure if I agree with you or not. With confidence, since obviously that's kind of goes hand in hand with game, or I guess.
Well, no, because confidence would be under the umbrella of game. If I'm, if I was going to put it that way, so confidence is a part of game rather than game being a part of confidence.
Okay, but do you personally believe that confidence comes from only success with women?
No, not at all. No, confidence, in my opinion, to put it as simple as possible, there's two types of confidence. There's fake confidence and there's real confidence. And the impression that I get from a lot of the hardcore PUA coaches is this idea that you should just fake it until you make it. And even if you're a low value guy, then you can just fake confidence, even if you have nothing going for you. But the natural confidence that a lot of the red pill coaches try to push is that if you build yourself up as a man, then the confidence will be natural. And the very fact that you're a high value guy, you'll just be emanating confidence, and you'll have an aura of confidence about you.
Let me kind of weigh in on that real quick to add a little nuance. So I have problems with both perspectives. The PUA perspective, fake until you make it. I do agree with you that that will create this kind of fake, like try hard confidence where you're like overcompensating, which girls can pick up like this, like they can smell right through that shit. I would say it's probably more beneficial to go in a little, just like own the fact that you're a little awkward than fake it hardcore. In terms of the building yourself up and you develop confidence, yes and no. You should definitely build yourself up as much as possible. However, I know plenty of examples of guys who are really rich, successful in literally every aspect of life, and they have close to no confidence. They need to compensate by paying girls money and all that stuff, right? So just because you build yourself up, like, does not guarantee that you will have confidence with women, like the red pill community often makes it out to be. That is a different kind of you still need to go out and talk to women. And I think true confidence with women comes from positive reference experiences. So if you go out and you've hooked up with hundreds of girls, you're going to be pretty confident when you talk to the next one, right? Unless you have some major whatever, let's just say things that you're compensating for, or major shortcomings that you are subconscious about. But aside from that, so that's just kind of my take on that.
Yeah, elaborating a little bit further, like honestly, what you just said there kind of falls in line with what a lot of the black pillars kind of argue. And I don't agree with this 100%, but there is definitely an element of truth to it. They say that that there's this something called positive reinforcement theory, which is that if a guy is a Chad and he's got plenty of attention throughout his life, not just from girls, but from his parents, teachers, friends, peers, everything like that, then that is naturally going to give him an extra boost of confidence because they've been propping him up like his entire life, his entire upbringing. Meanwhile, and there's actually studies on this as well, for unattractive guys, like the fact that they've, kind of had a rougher upbringing, like he's been rejected his whole life. People don't give him the time of day. And the study that I was referencing is that they checked how the likelihood of a man, if he is short, what is the chance that he has been bullied? And they actually showed that for men who are below average height in school are way more likely to get bullied than their peers who are taller.
Let me just quickly weigh in one last thing on that. I definitely do agree with this idea of positive reinforcement. What my disagreement with the black pill community would be is that I think they attribute way too much importance on looks in terms of the likelihood of him getting positive reinforcement. I do think looks play a role for sure. A taller guy is on average more likely to get the positive reinforcement, but I think a lot more importance should be placed on his parents and his upbringing. You can be a tall, really good looking guy, but if your parents are constantly demeaning you and putting you to shit, you're probably not going to turn out to be confident. I've seen many guys way better looking than me who are way less confident than me, again, largely due to their upbringing and whatnot. So I do think that being born good looking and tall increases your likelihood of getting that positive reinforcement, but not to the degree that I think most black pillars make it out to be.
Yeah, that's why I do, just to chip in one more time, just to say give my perspective on that point. Like that's why I don't 100% agree with the idea that positive reinforcement is like the only factor at play, and it's actually one of the points of contention that I have with the black pill community, that I think that it is a little bit overblown. Like, it's not to say that I don't agree with it. Like, I do think that there is elements of truth to positive reinforcement theory, but at the same time, I do have personal experiences of guys who are Chads and the tall Chads, and they have no confidence, and I'm kind of just like shaking my head in shame how like big the disparity is between how confident they look and how unconfident they are in real life. Likewise, I've seen guys who would be considered some sub fives, and they have all of the confidence in the world. But obviously, for those guys, it comes across as delusion in the eyes of women. And maybe they are kind of buying into a bit of PUA delusion, that if they think, oh, if I just be confident, then that will get me the results of women. But I rarely see those results materializing.
Yeah, just to wrap that point up. I was just going to say it seems like we all kind of agree on that because with the positive reinforcement, I agree that's a huge portion of your early confidence and your adolescence. I just don't agree with a lot of black pillars attributing it all to looks or mostly to looks because a lot of it. Now, granted, I was cute as a kid or whatever, like I get it, but because I went through a phase where I was cuter as a kid and I went through like an ugly phase in like early puberty. But I got a lot of positive reinforcement that had nothing to do with my looks as a kid. So when I was a teenager, I pretty much had the same confidence level even as my looks fluctuated. That's why I disagree with the whole I run into a lot of normies who, are confident and they're genuinely confident because like they may be talented, they may play instruments, they may be super smart, uh, be accomplished in, academia or other, fields. So I never saw them as a PUA or a red pillar because I'm like, oh, there's tangible, there's reasons why they got that reinforcement to make them confident. But yes, the red pill version obviously is what I do disagree with, where you're faking this fake alpha bravado to overcompensate. Yeah. Yeah.
Just to like kind of simplify it, I think this might be a good analogy that the audience might like to hear. Just think about back to when you was in school, like in a classroom, like you'd pretty much have 4 types of people in relation to like confidence. You would have the guys, obviously that just keep themselves to themselves and are really smart, like they're kind of just the quiet ones, and then you'd also have the quiet ones who aren't so smart. They're lower down the system, and they keep their mouth shut. They don't put their hand up because they don't necessarily know the answer. But then, with regard to the confident people, you've got 2 types. You've got the ones who do know it and they put their hand up regularly, and they, more often than not, get the right answer. But then at the same time, you've got the thickos who have all of the confidence in the world, but because of their lack of education, every time they put their hand up, they get the answer wrong, and people kind of do laugh at them, and they actually get a worse rap than the less smart people who keep their mouth shut. Like at least those people know their place.
Yeah, let me just weigh one last thing in on this. I do think that it also really matters what kind of what your circumstance in life is and where you're at. Take myself for example. When I was in high school, I did not get any positive reinforcement. I got made fun of from time to time. I wouldn't say I was bullied per se, but I certainly was not getting positive reinforcement. Versus now, I get positive reinforcement all the time on the internet. People are like, dude, you're awesome. I love your channel. You're the man. Right? It's radically changed. Let's take a more extreme example. Elon Musk. He was bullied hardcore in high school. He got the shit beat out of him on a daily basis. Now everyone thinks he's a god. Right? Completely different response from the world because the situation changed. So that can be a big thing too. You can get very bad reinforcement from the world at one point in your life and very good later on in life because your circumstances change.
They also get like it was interesting you mentioned that, because I'm sure you get a lot of hate comments yourself, and like Elon Musk especially, like he's in the last couple of weeks or so, he's been getting a lot of hate online. So like what's your opinion on how do you like you find like the balance like between getting positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement? Because I'm sure if I asked you like what the difference is between the last 10 years, you'd actually find that both ends of the stick have been multiplied tenfold. You're probably getting 10 times the amount of positive reinforcement, and also because of the hate comments and everything that comes through, and people roasting your appearance. Like I saw a TikTok that was roasting you a couple of weeks ago or something like that. That's a huge amount of negative reinforcement coming in at your end too. So like how do you find like the balance between that?
That's a good question, actually, and that's a good point. Yeah, it has been. I would say I wasn't really so. Yes, I would agree that the negative part was 10x, maybe 100x. The positive part was very low, so it was never like I was getting much originally. I was just getting a little bit of negative and no positive. Now I'm getting a lot of negative and a lot of positive. I think when you get to a certain point, if you, as a content creator or just a public figure, if you don't learn how to tune out the hate, you're not going to make it, and you're just going to go insane. So I think like that's a necessary skill to develop. If you have a YouTube channel, or even like Elon Musk, that's like 100x, the level I'm at. So if he lets the negativity on the internet affect him, he's not going to make it far. So I just think it's a skill you develop to tune out all the stuff and just focus on the positive.
It's just a part of being a content creator. There's not a single content creator in the world who doesn't get hate comments. There's not a single one. Every single person gets hate comments. But like as you say, like you just got to focus on the positive ones, and you know that you're always going to get the hate comments. And the way that I kind of deal with it is that like I start recognizing patterns. Like I see the same comments coming through like on a regular basis. Like the hate comments. Like I'm just like, oh, I've seen that one before. I've seen that one a million times. Like, people will say, "Oh, Wheat Waffles, he's turning red pill." Like I can't believe that he's doing these debates and these discussions with these PUA gurus. Like he's betraying the black pill community. But like it's like that old phrase. What is it? Keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. It's something along those lines. I don't know exactly how it is, but.
Dude, anyone who thinks that you're somehow less of a whatever for doing debates with people who think differently with you is a massive faggot. Like anyone who doesn't, he's not willing to have discussions with people who think differently than them is literally an ideologue. And so I can't like that's just such a lame thing to give someone hate for. Like, oh, dude, you're such a loser. You're willing to have discussions with people who think differently than you. You should just stay in your echo chamber, man. Like, what the fuck are they even arguing at that point?
You probably get this experience too, that no matter what stance you take, and this can be on absolutely anything, you're going to get the people that disagree with you and agree with you. So if I did just hide away in my corner, I never did discussions with anyone, if I didn't come on debates like this, then people would be saying, oh, you're just just there to preach your own beliefs, be in your own echo chamber, and it's all just one big circle jerk, and you're never gonna stand up to other any other sources of criticism. But then obviously if I do engage in the discussions with channels like this and other people who believe in the red pill and PUA and things like that, then people are like, oh, I can't believe you're mingling with the people on the other side, and you're buddy with all of these PUA guys now, how to betray your audience. Like no matter what stance you take, you're always going to get hate. That's just the nature of online content nowadays.
Yeah, no, for sure. You cannot make it as a content creator if you can't tune out the hate. You are going to literally go insane. But anyway, go ahead, Stefan.
Anyway, getting back to the debate, the main points that we were talking about. Stefan, it sounds like you've got through most of the points of contention that you had with my channel. But do you have more? I'm happy to keep going.
That was pretty much it. I just had one quick thing because I think, in my personal opinion, money doesn't build attraction at all. But I don't know if you're that hardline with it. I know a lot of black pillars will say they'll either go directly and say you need to beta bucks or escort max. And then others will indirectly say, oh, you need to build up the lifestyle and attract women with the lifestyle and be a top 10% man. But in my opinion, money doesn't build attraction, period. It doesn't build attraction, period. Even something like swag or a bunch of other factors would create some level of attraction. Like they go into the woman's feeling when she sees you, but literal money, in my opinion, it's just a cope. And I think that probably more of a red pill guy. I mean, more of a red pill. It's more of an attack on them than you. I think you probably agree with me more so than.
Yeah, I spot on agree with the thing that you was alluding to there. Like out of all of the black pill beliefs I hold, perhaps the most extreme beliefs I hold are with regard to money and beta boxing. Like I actually consider myself more of a moderate black pillar as a whole, but when it comes to money, like I'm as extreme as it gets with regard to the black pill. Like I'm wholeheartedly on board with what you were saying, that money does not build attraction. Like a good way that I've heard it being put is that money only builds interest, not attraction. So obviously if you've got a lot of money, chances are you're going to have women coming after you. Like you often hear about lottery winners, how women slowly but surely start coming out of the woodwork, writing letters and, being like, oh, you're Jeffrey who, I went to school with in the 7th grade. Like, oh, it's, why don't we catch up? We should catch up for a coffee. Like that's the kind of things that you hear about. And we all know that the only reason that is happening is because the man in question has got a lot of money. The other opinion that I have, it's just disappeared from my mind a second. Let me check my notes.
I agree with that actually completely. I don't think money builds attraction. Yeah, interest maybe, yeah, but
yeah.
attraction.
This might be a point that you do disagree with slightly, Alex. This is another one of my extreme points with regard to the black pill, is that Stefan, you mentioned lifestyle. As I mentioned this a couple of videos ago, lifestyle is just a cover up for beta boxing. Like, in my opinion, if you're a guy and you're flying women out, you're going on holidays, and you're paying for, 5-star restaurant dates, like this is just a complete cover up of beta boxing. It is beta boxing in disguise. I'm not sure what your opinion on this.
Oh yeah, I would disagree with that. I think lifestyle falls under perceived status, and status is attractive to women. So that's why, for example, women will fawn over famous guys, and you will see that's not like the money type of interest. That's like you'll see attraction, like, oh my god, this guy's so cool. Women are hardwired to be attracted to status. So I think when a woman sees the guy has a cool lifestyle, like he's traveling, he's doing cool shit, she's like, wow, this guy must have status, right? Because he's doing these things. The average guy can't do that. So yeah, that's kind
of my perspective is that even what you're saying there, it emanates from money. Like, all of what you just said is underpinned by money. And I've made the point in my videos that if that man in question loses his job or business or whatever that's keeping that money coming in, if he gets a lawsuit or whatever, then as soon as that happens and he loses his money, then he also loses all of his lifestyle, and he's no longer able to finance the expensive dates, the yachts, the 5-star restaurants and hotels, everything like that. He's not able to finance that. Therefore, his lifestyle disappears along with his money.
Well, see, the thing is that you can have a cool lifestyle and not beta bucks at all, and not take the girl to fancy dinners or do any of that. I know personally guys who, again, like, they make it seem like they have a cool lifestyle. They do in some ways, right? There's a little bit of exaggeration that goes on Instagram, but their lifestyle looks really cool. But their dates are literally the girl coming straight over and then banging her, maybe going for drinks or whatever at a local dive bar nearby. So yeah, it's just like when the girl sees that you have a cool status, she's like, wow, like this guy must have some status, which I think is different than money. I think there's overlap and correlation. Sure, it's hard to have a cool lifestyle if you have zero money, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah, that does actually make a little bit more sense to me. I was a little bit puzzled by your use of example, that you said that a guy can have a good lifestyle and not necessarily splash the cash. And you use the example of a guy who invites a girl over and then goes for a couple drinks. That's still going to take a little bit of investment. Like, I think that maybe a better example to use would be the guy who goes traveling to poorer countries and like goes surfing on the beach, like and lives like the hippie lifestyle, and like this is a very sort of cheap sort of thing that you can do. Like, van life is a thing that's been creeping up on YouTube like a lot recently, and these kind of people live pretty much, I'd say on less than $10,000 a year, which, according to the data, these people will be seen as impoverished. But in terms of lifestyle, on paper, like, these guys are living, life to the fullest. Like they're going traveling all the time. They're having campfires on the beach. They're going surfing, and like they're seeing exotic places. Like, that is, in my opinion, a high lifestyle, low budget sort of thing that they have going on.
Yeah, so there's different angles you could take, and that's definitely one angle, and it's a potentially successful angle. And different angles will appeal to different types of girls. So a girl who's looking on, on Instagram, and she's a guy, she's into surfing, she's into outdoorsy stuff, and she sees a guy who's going surfing in all these cool places. He's camping in the national parks. That might appeal to her a lot more than a guy who's, for example, posing with jets or cars, right? But then a different type of girl, a girl who's like not into the outdoorsy shit, she's more of like your typical city girl. She might be more impressed by the private jet type of stuff. So there's different angles you can take. The angle that you should take probably should be congruent with your personality. So, for example, the angle I use is I combine the fact with, I have a cute dog, right? So my dog is quite often in there, and he is a part of my life. It's not like I have to fucking go out there and find a random dog, take a picture. Number two is that I do have the advantage of, like, I do speeches and stuff like that. So I use like the social proof aspect. So I have photos of me with like doing speeches and stuff like that. Three is muscles. I'm in pretty good shape. I go to the gym a lot. So I do utilize that. So that's kind of the angle I take. I don't really take private jets. I don't really travel much. So that's not like really an angle I utilize. So yeah, I mean, for the guys, the angle has to be congruent with their lifestyle, but different angles will attract different types of girls.
Yeah.
and
Just one more thing before Stefan, you can speak afterwards. I was just going to say that, like I think that the angle that the red pill community tries to come at mostly is like with regard to lifestyle is the splash to cash, sorry, not cash, splash to cash, private jets, Rolex watches, McLarens, Ferraris, like that. That's the kind of lifestyle.
And there's definitely a big downside with doing that because a lot of girls think it's really try hard. It's a double-edged sword because a lot of the more normal girls, they'll think it's try hard and they're not going to, or they're going to be intimidated, one or the other, and they're not going to talk to you. Or so the girls that are going to kind of go for it are going to be the more gold diggerish type of girls, which are the kind of girls I would argue you'd want to avoid for a relationship. So it's a double-edged sword, posing with jets and private cars and all that shit on your Instagram. Yeah.
Go on, Stefan.
Oh yeah, I was going to say to.
Is his mic? What's happened?
I don't know, Stefan.
Okay. Well, I did have another point in mind. If he comes back, then he can, interrupt and just take over because, like I've already said quite a lot in the last few minutes. But I was going to say a couple more points on status. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Oh, I think I was. My laptop keeps trying to hibernate. It's trying to shut me up. It's probably Rollo Tomasi.
He's inside the computer.
Is Rollo Tomasi a fresh and fit? They see my videos criticizing him. But I was just going to say, as an example of what I was talking about with the whole lifestyle thing, when Alex brought up like the dog pill, like him using his dog in his pictures or whatever, that's like genuine lifestyle. Or you like being active, physically active, traveling or whatever, having niche interests. That's genuine lifestyle. I'm talking about the first man pill. So like, I don't know, I forget what it was, a recent video he did. First man, who's kind of, I guess, similar to Hamza, kind of. He did in his video, he asked the question, yeah, if I'm talking to this hot girl and I'm a high value guy and I offer to her, hey, do you want to eat at this 5-star restaurant? I'm going here, or do you want to take a private jet instead of waiting for coach? Do you want to spend the weekend with me in Italy or whatever? He was giving all these examples of like and basically asking his audience why a girl would turn that down. And I've actually been in situations where I'm dating a college chick, or I guess friends with benefits with a college chick who's like a sugar baby, and you'll see on her Instagram she's eating at 5-star restaurants, on the guy's balcony, at his loft, or while they're on vacation at a hotel, and you'll either be friends with benefits with this chick for free, or you'll know other guys who, are college age and talking to her for free. So I think first man and guys like that who have this cope of the lifestyle literally compensating for everything else and building genuine attraction, I think that's a cope. Because I think
that minor straw man of first man, because he doesn't just like, I've watched a lot of his content. Like he's one of the few content creators that I do watch nowadays on YouTube, and he doesn't just promote lifestyle. Like obviously that is one of the like founding pillars that he does believe in, but he also promotes building your physique, working on your appearance, styling, fashion, and everything like that. So that like the lifestyle obviously is one of the major pillars that he talks about, if not the most important one that he talks about. But there are other elements that he also talks about in his channel a lot. Like he often uses the example that a guy walking out of a Ferrari, if he's overweight and he hasn't got his life together in any other aspect and he's got no social skills, then women are still just going to chalk him off as just, oh, that's just some rich guy. Then they're not going to look at it in his direction that much. But just I wanted to say a little bit more about First Man, that he is one of the prime examples of what I was talking about with regard to the lifestyle that he promotes, is the splash to cash, just live a brilliant life. Like he has a freaking Range Rover, I believe, for God's sake. So, that's like one of the best cars that you can get. But I was going to make another point with regard to status and why I don't necessarily think it's a good path to take, because status, like people underestimate how much status you actually need for it to actually start doing some work for you in the dating market. Like some people are so delusional, they think that a BMW gives you status. A BMW does not give you status. A BMW, like there's 10 on if you go down the seafront of any like major beach, you're going to see 10 if not hundreds of them. Like the only time when a car can start to give you some status and it really starts ramping up your lifestyle is when you're talking about Ferraris, McLarens, Lamborghinis. Like these are the real cars that can really like boost your status. But a BMW and Audi, like so many people have them nowadays, they're nothing to write home about.
I caught the tail end of that, but I actually kind of agree as well. Yeah, I think that the red pill community heavily over exaggerates how much increasing your income is going to affect your ability to get girls. A lot of that stuff in first world countries is not impressive. If you become a multimillionaire or billionaire, then yeah, you do have a little bit of an edge, I think, because you're going to run in different social circles, blah blah blah. But going from making 80,000 a year to making 250,000 a year, in my opinion, is not really going to offer you any kind of tangible benefit with women unless you're going for gold diggers.
Yeah, the point that I was making, if you only caught the tail end of it, is that red pill gurus underestimate the amount of status and lifestyle you need in order for it to start looking impressive.
I agree with that 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the guys that can actually regularly attract women with the private jets and things like that, that is literally the top 1%. Yeah. Literally the top 1%. Like how many guys on a regular basis can afford private jets? Like next to no one. But these red pill gurus think that if you reach top 10% status, which will be, maybe the like the Jaguar, like that's when you can, reach the top 10% of status and wealth. Like that's hardly, in my opinion, gonna land you really good results with women. Like because it's just not enough. Like if a woman really wants to see you as a high value man through lifestyle and status, then that's when you need to reach the title of multi-millionaire or billionaire, and driving the the Ferrari and going on private jets. Like that's when you've really made it.
Yeah, dude, 100%. I actually very much agree with that. I think they really do. Yeah, the bar is well, it depends on where you're at. If you're in a third world country, the bar is a lot lower than something like being in the making 100,000 a year could actually be quite impressive. But yeah, in first world countries like America, England, whatever, the bar is set pretty high. For sure. Like this is why it always cracks me up when some black pillars say that I'm just getting laid off my status. Because I'm like, my status is absolutely nothing impressive in Miami. It's actually like on the lower side. Like I live in the epicenter of Miami. Like, you think these girls give a shit that I'm a fucking PUA dating coach? You think that's
I get the exact same. I get the exact same. Like 75,000 subscribers. Like not one person in real life has ever said, "Oh, that's Wheat Waffles." Like, "Oh, what a higher status guy." It just doesn't happen. Like the real people that have status have millions of followers on Instagram and millions of subscribers on YouTube. That's when you can really write home about your status.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, 100% agree on that. And my last thing, this is not a disagreement because, but I just had to point it out. One of the things I 100% agree with Wheat Waffles on was it was one of his last 3 videos, I think, the one about men not aging like fine wine. That he knocked that one out of the park. I just had to say that because, and I can say this as a guy that's 34, but looks young for my age. So like a lot of times I'll still get carded if I go to the liquor store. Like if I'm talking to a woman in her later 20s, she'll think I'm younger than her or her age. I can say that from personal experience, just all the guys I've worked with who are my age or older, the black pill hits them super hard. So unless you're like some Pharrell or Will Smith guy that looks like, this like young his whole life until he's into his 50s or something, unless you're that or you're already a Chad and you have good age genetics, the age pill hits super hard, and it's before 40. So if you're like a Rollo Tomasi or Fresh and Fit guy and you have this dream in your head of like being 45, dating like 18, 19-year-olds, that's it's not going to happen. I'm just letting you know, you guys in your 20s and 30s, take advantage of your prime. Don't just harp on the women and tell them to take advantage of their prime and settle down. You should take advantage of your prime as well. Don't wait till you're 45 and then all of a sudden now you want a wife. Like, take advantage when you're late 20s, early 30s, and you still have youth, but you have some maturity. While you can get, even if it's just a 6, a Stacy Light or whatever, 7, like just because when you're 45, I guarantee you, you're probably not going to have the same ceiling of options that you had when you were 28 to 32.
I'm happy that you brought up this point, because this is a highly contested point within the like black pill sort of versus red pill sphere, and this is one of the points of contention that even the black pill community disagrees with on quite a lot. I am very much on the side of the fence. Again, like, I have the extreme opinion on this one that I definitely believe that men in their 20s have the edge over the guys in their 30s. And most red pillars and even quite a few black pillars say that no, it gets better with time. It gets better after 30, so long as you've built some status and looked after yourself and built an impressive physique and everything like that. Blah 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 blah. But like, I still believe that like guys in their 20s have the biggest advantage, and it's mainly just like, it's not necessarily because they are lower value. Like, I think that if a guy in his 30s does look after himself, he can be on the same level as a guy who is in his 20s. However, there is an inherent advantage that guys in their 20s have just because the fact that they are younger. Like, I was on a live stream with James Tusk a couple of weeks ago, and I even raised the point to him, and a lot of people will disagree with me on this, but like, this guy James Tusk, if any of you don't know or anyone doesn't watching knows, like, he is a Chad. Like, he ticks all of the boxes. He mugs me in every department. Like, he's taller than me. He's got the face. He's got the physique. He's got everything. But I guarantee, like, and I seriously stand by this, if me and him were in a university environment, in a club scene, I would probably have an edge over him just because of the fact that I'm younger. Like, a lot of women would look at him and think like, aren't you a bit old to be in this club? Aren't you a bit old? Like, you're giving me a bit creepy vibes. This is a bit predatory now. Like, this is what I've heard, first-hand experience, when young girls, university-age girls especially, talk about with regard to age, that any guy, as soon as they hear that number, whether it's 25 or above or 30 or above, as soon as they hear that number, then they're immediately turned off and they don't want to know anything.
Let me kind of comment on that. So, two things. Part of it I agree with you on. I think that for 99% of guys, they're going to hit their peak in their 20s, not their 30s, and only 1% of guys or so will hit their peak in their 30s or 40s. So I do think the red pillars will way overblow that. Like, men age like fine wine. Vast majority of men do not age like fine wine. The vast majority of men will hit their sexual peak in their late teens or early 20s. Only the guys like the Elon Musk, the Jeff Bezos, the celebrities, the guys who work on status are actually going to hit their peak later on in life. So that's the first thing I would say. However, in terms of being a disadvantage, like automatically turning women off because you're in your 30s, I'm 32 and I've never actually had scratched.
Hold on a second. Sorry, I should have let you finish that point, but I think I know what you was going to say before you even finished it. Like, because I remember you saying specifically in a recent video that since you turned 30, you've seen your number of matches online diminish, quite substantially. And I think the reason behind that is because most women who are in the 18 to 25 age range, they have their max age limit set to 18 to 29 or something along those lines. So as soon as you are 30 or above, then you're not even in, the card stack for women that are in the younger age range.
So I think you're confusing correlation for causation. So basically, online dating, especially in the city where I live in, has gotten a lot harder. Pretty much everyone who lives here can attest to that. We've all seen a decrease in our matches, regardless of whether we're in our 20s, 30s, 40s. I've also done an experiment where I fuck around with my age and I change it to whatever. That's a correlation thing, because online dating in Miami, and I think America in general, has gotten a lot harder in the last few years. There's been a lot more competition. So yeah.
Well, so when you have played around with your age settings, have you found that you get more matches if you set your age to 29 using the exact same photos as opposed to your true age of 32?
Yeah, so that's the thing. So this is a question I commonly get asked during coaching calls. Guys are like, "Oh, what should I set my age to?" From my experiences, I found the ideal range, the ideal age to be is either late 20s or early 30s. The reason that early 20s is not ideal is because some chicks want an older guy, and you're going to miss out on those. Also, chicks who are in their early 30s or late 20s, they also kind of want to date equal to their age or up. So from what I've seen, the ideal age for dating apps is late 20s or early 30s.
I'm actually quite surprised by that you mentioned early 30s. Like, if I was going to make a prediction based on the question at hand, I would have guessed that the optimal age would have been in the 25 to 29, followed by the 21 to 24 range. I'm very surprised that early 30s has come ahead of the early 20s guys.
Yeah, you should do that. Could be an interesting video idea for you. Do an experiment on that. It also depends on what kind of girls you're going for. If you're girls to fuck 18 to 21-year-old girls, then yeah, I would agree that early to mid 20s is ideal. But if your girls just to hook up, with as attractive girls, and you're pretty open to the age thing, like going up to mid 30s, then I would argue, yeah, late 20s or early 30s is ideal. Another issue with the super young chicks is they're notoriously more flaky. So a chick who's 29, 30 is going to be way more reliable than a chick who's 18, 19, or 20. So yeah, overall, in terms of results, that's kind of what I've seen. But I do think that's a potential really good experiment for you to conduct.
Besides the abundance of options that 18 to 24-year-olds have, do you think there's an extra reason for why women who are younger, the flake rate is so much higher?
I think that a lot of it has to do with just their culture and their upbringing. Like that generation grew up very different than my generation. They grew up with like TikTok and smartphones, and they're just so ADD. They're all over the place, and they're used to making plans that they can't commit to. Versus my generation kind of grew up before smartphones, so when we made plans, we showed up. Like otherwise maybe you got beat up or something. So yeah, it's just I think it's a completely different upbringing.
So it's kind of to do with like the instant gratification epidemic. Like 30 years ago, people watched hour-long documentaries, and then in the last 10 years it's been YouTube, which are 10-15 minute videos, and now in the last 3-4 years it's been TikTok, which has literally been reduced to 10-second 15-second clips, because people's attention spans are so small nowadays.
I think that's certainly a big part of it. I also think as people get older, they become more mature. So, when you're like 19, 20, you're like, yeah, whatever, fuck this guy. He had a small dick anyway. Versus when a chick is like 30, maybe she's been flaked on a few times and she realizes it's unpleasant. So she becomes a little bit more mature and more reliable.
Yeah. Stefan, do you have an input for any of the things that we've been talking about?
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, I don't use Tinder super often. But even when the few times I did use Tinder in my 20s and early 30s, now I'll say for me, I look super young. So it's probably like I'm an outlier. So when chicks probably see my face, it's like, oh, he's 30, 34, but he looks, whatever. So I'm sure that plays into it. But I think with the age pill, with guys in their 30s, it varies wildly. So if we're talking early 30s versus late 30s, I think it varies wildly, because like a lot of women I talk to tend to be in their mid 20s, and I find that they date guys that are like around like late 20s to early 30s. But then some of them will date older men in their later 30s. But I notice the older it goes up, the more secure the guy is, and the more that he's beating guys my age or younger in terms of having money and committing to her and stuff like that, the more he loses physical attraction.
Let me actually comment on that, because I have a very interesting perspective, because my parents are separated. My dad, he's in a relationship now, but he was single for a while in his early 50s. And my dad was actually doing quite well with girls in his early 50s, and we and him had a discussion about that. And he said, honestly, he was saying that pretty much everyone my age is either fat or married. He's like, I'm in really good shape. So, if I was competing against a bunch of 20-year-old guys, I would be nothing impressive, because they're all, in pretty good shape. He's like, but for my age range, like all the dudes my age are fat or married and trying to cheat on their wives. So I'm a single guy. I have a business and I'm in good shape. He's like, I'm in the top 0.1%. So thus I'm a lot more attractive to a girl who's looking for a guy my age, a girl who's in like her early 40s. He even dated girls in their, late 30s, mid 30s, again, because he was such a outlier because of that category. So I think that's another like interesting point.
I wouldn't say that it's something that, a lot of guys should look forward to necessarily. Obviously nowhere near to the degree of the extremity that you're talking about, because I think that people on all sides of the fence agree that 50 is a bit too late. Like that is going to be past a man's prime, no matter how high status he is, unless we're talking about somebody like Elon Musk. But even then, like you had Jeff Bezos who got divorced in the last few years. So like what was going on there, like maybe he is on his decline as well, despite his huge amount of wealth. But with regard to like the like less extreme of the point that you was alluding to, the people that are waiting for their mid to late 30s and they believe that that is their prime, I think in terms of dating options, the quality is going to be so far and few between. Like if I'm honest, like I don't have much data at hand to myself of this, but like just as a random guess, I would say that the percentage of quality women who are in their mid to late 30s is less than 1% at this point. Like I wouldn't consider dating, even if I was that age, I wouldn't consider dating most of those kind of women, because a lot of them are going to have the emotional baggage, like body counts through the roof, potential divorces, and they're going to have kids and everything like this. Like the drama just gets worse and worse and worse as women get older, and there's only so far that you can date down. Like if you're a high value guy in your mid to late 30s, yeah, you might be able to get away with dating a woman in her late 20s or maybe even mid 20s, but the younger it gets, it's going to get harder and harder and harder. Like I can't name many examples, if any, of guys who are in their late 30s who are dating prime 18-year-old virgins who are like at the top of their game. Like the guys that can date those girls are going to be university aged as well.
Okay, so let's outline the steps. Step 1, get married when you're really young. Step 2, give birth to Alex. Step 3, let Alex grow up and come up with whatever his own brand. Step 4, get divorced from Alex's mom. And step 5, win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have anything to respond, Stefan?
No, I pretty much I think we all pretty much agree on the age pill. And again, it depends on what you're looking for. So I feel like in the real world, like outside of YouTube, a lot of older guys I run into, they may be attracted to women in their prime, but I don't think they're as delusional as your average red pillar on YouTube. So I think it depends on the guy. Like some guys that are 37, they might just want to date a chick that's 31, whatever. I think that's reasonable. But I'm talking about these guys that are like pushing 40 or above it, like Richard Cooper or somebody, and they're trying to compete with guys like me who may make less money, but realistically, if there's a beautiful woman that's 25 and she's attracted to a 34-year-old, but then there's like a 41-year-old with more money, there's really, unless she's like a gold digger and her only purpose is money, she's going to choose the 34-year-old. And also, I want to bring up one point that red pillars may disagree with. Some of them will say, well, like in my case, a 25-year-old that's talking to me, if she's basically only talking to me because she's eventually going to monkey branch to, because of female hypergamy, she's going to monkey branch onto a high value guy later on. My thing is the women that are 25 that are talking to me, they're already talking to other men who are on my level or better. So why would she choose a 41-year-old over me, a 34-year-old, when if she really wanted to be a hypergamist, she could just choose another 34-year-old like me who makes more money. So that's where I think I don't disagree that women are hypergamous at all. I'm not a blue pillar. I'm not saying that women are saints and all that, but I just think that red pillars, they have a cope that hypergamy will benefit them just because their value increases. but in women's minds, their sexual value is not exactly the same as your, overall value. Because I'm pretty sure we'd agree that Bill Gates or, uh, Steve Jobs or Walt Disney or whoever you want to
Steve
name.
Jobs is dead.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying when they were alive. I'm saying Walt Disney, all these guys that may have been inventors, super high IQ, they were one of the most valuable people to society at large. That doesn't translate to the sexual dating market. So even a guy like me, who people may say, "Oh, you're a college dropout, you're medium high IQ, you're nothing special, you're a 6 in the face." In terms of sexual market value, I'm way higher than that. So that's where I think the disconnect.
If Steve Jobs was alive and he was on the dating scene, he could actually do really well because of his perceived status. Like Apple has a cult following. There's a bunch of chicks, sort of nerdy, geeky girls who are hot who just like bang him just because of his status and because they admire him. So I think
Steve Jobs isn't even I don't think he even looks bad. But I'm just making the point that you can have these men that provide a super high value to society. Albert Einstein, Isaac Newton, whoever. Some of them are normies, some of them whatever. My point is, you can have all the value in the world. You could be the man that invented the internet. Do you really think that if an incel invented the internet and he became famous, that his sexual market value would translate or would mirror his overall value? I don't think that's true. I think that's a cope. He would do well. Obviously, he'd be famous. Of course, he created the internet. But my point is, sexual value is different from your general value as a human being. Like, I mean, as a kid, I was super ambitious and, worked hard in school, like as a kid before I kind of got lazy in my 20s when I dropped out of college. But when I was younger in high school, my value, it didn't reflect, you know what I mean? The fact that I was an honor student and I was on the track team and the wrestling team and the high IQ team and in business club and in business camp and computer camp, none of that translated to sexual market value.
That's not real status. That's impressive to girls. Like,
no, I'm just saying value in general, whether it's status related or not.
That's totally different than this, though. Like, let's take Jonah Hill, who's objectively an ugly motherfucker. You put him and me in a bar. Assuming that he has some pretty decent social skills, which I don't know because I've never met the guy, but assuming he has good social skills, he would destroy me because of the fame. Even though I would say that I'm a lot better looking.
I disagree. I think you both would succeed. I think Jonah would.
Sure, I could get success, yes, but he would get more success because again, he's famous as fuck. So yeah, I think he would destroy me if all other factors being equal.
But I would rather be me and be a non-famous person and have a few women in the club genuinely attracted to me than be the rich sub-5 guy with 30 women throwing themselves.
It's not Jonah Hill's money that's attractive. It's his fame. Fame is different than...
No, but I'm saying whether it's fame, status, whatever. I mean, in that particular case where it's a celebrity thing, where it's like... Because I think there's difference between like status, like, oh, this guy... I know of him in my local like school or campus and he's popular and this and that. It's kind of still related to other factors of him maybe being charming or being likable by other attractive women, as opposed to celebrity pill, that's not genuine desire, in my opinion. I'm not saying you're like a Chad. I'm just saying I think you would honestly, I would rather be you than Jonah Hill, honestly. I mean, in that particular case.
I mean, I'm pretty happy being myself, sure, but what's it called? I mean, like, we're talking now in terms of purely in terms of results with women. Fame does play a humongous role. It's very different than money, and it's also very different in terms of the effect it has. When you have money, I agree with the point Waffles made earlier, is that you might get interest, but you're not going to get like attraction. But fame can actually get you attraction because it ties into status, which hits a different part of the brain circuit for women. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think I would be able to outcompete Jonah Hill.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like the whole status and money like sort of thing. I think a mistake that a lot of people make is they kind of just bundle them into one, but they are, distinct. Like they are correlated, but they are still distinct in their own way. And generally speaking, like, it's going to be very rare that you can be high status and
you cut out Wee Waffles.
Oh yeah,
very high status, but not a lot of money because they kind of do just cross over into each other. But at the same time, I could picture a lot of examples who have of people who have a lot of money but not necessarily the status. Like a person who's won the lottery, obviously have a lot of money, but with regard to status, they don't have that at all. And those people are the ones that are like the most vulnerable in terms of like getting screwed over by gold diggers and being used as a beta bucks and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I don't completely disagree with you guys, but like, just I'm thinking of like, if I was in this situation, not Alex, if I was in this situation instead of Alex versus Jonah Hill when he was overweight, because I don't know his weight now, how he looks, but I know women that would turn him down for guys like me. But now, if there was a different celebrity that sort of fit their taste, I could see them winning over me. Yes.
If let's assume Jonah Hill has equal social skills to you, you guys put them in a bar in the United States. I would bet my money on him 100%.
Me too. Like, I think
women
that
are we
once you're a
at?
movie star, like you are going to get women that are, just going to be going up to them. Like, and you did say that Jonah Hill, like, he's a objectively below average guy, but he's not hideous at the same time.
Right.
Like,
It's not, like Danny DeVito. Yeah, that might be a little different. Although, even
no, but like Jonah Hill, like he'd still be considered, just a low tier normie. Like, I think that's what he is. He's just an overweight normie, and if he lost weight, he probably would be able to get to a 5 or a 6, and he'd be like, in that case, then I'm sorry, Stefan, but you wouldn't have a chance. But as a low tier normie with movie star fame, like on paper, that it immediately brings him up to at least a 6 or if not 7.
Well, but all I'm saying is
so powerful. I think a lot of people underestimate fame is so powerful. It can take a guy who's a 6 and make him a 10 in a girl's mind in terms of attraction.
But at the same time, like you mentioned Danny DeVito, like I'm 100% sure that if he was at a bar, with you, Stefan, then yeah.
Well, no, Danny DeVito would outperform me. That's different. I disagree. Danny DeVito would and mind you,
Danny DeVito is like 4'11", dude.
No, with the other guys, with Jonah Hill, I don't disagree that he'll outperform me in general. So, like I said, if we're at the same club, he's going to get more women. He's a celebrity. But my point was, if we're in a situation where for some odd reason we're competing for the same woman, the women that I talk to, I know for a fact because I know who they're attracted to. And, women talk about celebrities and, their crushes or whatever. They wouldn't turn me down for Jonah Hill. They would turn me down for another person with more status that's similar to me or fits their taste. That's all I'm saying. So maybe it's kind of getting too technical but I'm not saying he would overall, like if we walked in the same club, he would probably get 50 times the amount of numbers and women dancing with him and offering to go home and all that. But what I'm saying is, if you forced an attractive woman to just choose between me and Jonah Hill for some odd reason, she would choose me. And then maybe another weekend, she would go out and she might meet a more attractive version of Jonah Hill that she would choose over me. I'm just saying attractive women, yes, they're hypergamous, but it's not the way that people think. So yes, fame and status, it's different from money. I agree.
It really depends. It really depends on the chick in question. If that chick is an aspiring actress, she would go with Danny DeVito with fucking Jonah Hill because maybe her banging him could give her an audition or something like that. If it's a chick, quiet girl who works in HR, that might be different. So it really depends on the girl.
Or if in this scenario, if she really is going to benefit from knowing him, but she's physically attracted to me, she might talk to both of us anyway. She may get my number. Then she may drift off, get a drink with him, go home with him. I end up with my friends. Then next week she hits me up later. Like I've literally had women who I've met women one who slept with Justin Bieber, one who slept with Trey Songz in the past. Like because I know a lot of women who live, in
well, no one voluntarily sleeps with Trey Songz.
Well, Let me bet. Yeah, but I mean, the one I'm bringing up was by her account. She said out her own mouth. Because she knew him before he was famous. But anyway, I'm not disagreeing that he would perform better than me in terms of if we were in the same location. All I'm saying was these attractive women, their options are set up to where if they're talking to a guy like me that they're physically attracted to, yes, they're hypergamous, but the hypergamous sub 5 guy that's in her DM is competing with other guys with that same status. And she's already ignoring some of them to talk to me. Like, so it's not like it's in a vacuum. Like I'm the first guy.
I see your point. I
Yeah.
don't think we're even disagreeing on much. So maybe like, yeah,
That's what I'm saying. I was kind of getting to the weeds of like, you know.
I think we're all pretty much in agreement anyway. So yeah, I mean, is there anything else you want to debate with Wheat Waffles?
No, that's pretty much it. I'm just glad we could hammer home the point that men don't age like fine wine, and yeah, that was yeah.
Wheat Waffles, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I have nothing else to add as well. Yeah, I'm happy with all of the points that we discussed.
All right, awesome. All right, guys, vote on the winner. Let's hear it in the chat. Go ahead. Let's get everyone's opinion. Say W for Wheat Waffles and E for Educated Tyrone to make it easy.
Wasn't there a way that you could do a poll on the live chat?
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
I saw you do one of them towards the beginning.
That's usually my tech guy that does that, though. I don't really know personally how to do that. But we actually got. Let's just let them. Whatever. I don't really know how to.
I think you can do it in StreamYard in like the.
I like someone who like neither. You both suck.
I think it's the brand icon on the right
brand.
side.
Okay, brand. Let me see.
You should be able to type. Kind of once you put it in the chat, you can pin it. But
not brand. I don't know how to do it. But we a lot of people are saying in the chat. Okay, so yeah, I think a lot of people are picking you, Wheat Waffles.
Awesome.
But I think you guys largely agreed on a lot of things. So
someone said QB won.
QB is always the winner.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah. Oh no, I thought it was a good discussion.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
This is my favorite. This is my favorite. Alex's Husky one.
Yeah. Well, honest, kind of the debate kind of like evolved like about an hour in. Like all three of us were like having at it and giving our different points. So like the debate was like mainly for the first half of the stream.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, thanks. Someone said Husky Maxing. I think this was good. Yeah, we should do more stuff like that. There should be more discussions in the manosphere.
I do have a bonus question for Wheat Waffles. Do you think that in terms of like face, body, and height, it goes like face first, height second, body third?
Yes, I do. And to give exact percentages, I think it goes 50 face, 30 height, 20 body. However, I think that only holds true for white guys. I think for guys who are black, the split is 33, 33, 33, like for all three of them. So like for a black guy, then it's equal for his height, face, and body.
That's interesting. But I will say that, and I mean, I guess the debate's over, but I think with black guys versus non-black guys, the swag factor isn't really quantifiable. And I think when people disagree on like how like men or black men fare in the dating market, I feel like that's why there's so much disagreement, because you can't really quantify swag.
The BBC factor is not really quantifiable. You just really can't quantify how important it is to have a humongous schlong. No, I mean.
But Wheat Waffles, you do agree swag exists, I'm assuming.
If I'm honest, I don't know what swag means.
I think swag, I'm not going to go on super long, but I think swag is a mixture of its presence and physicality. So basically, like presence, it might be like partially like your posture, certain things you do, how you carry yourself, your frame. Then physicality, it might be, I mean, it's literally like how you walk, how you interact with women. So like if you're a dancer, or if you're like something where you're interacting with women on a regular basis, you might appear to women more like comfortable around them. So when you express yourself to women, it comes off better, as opposed to like an autistic guy doing a similar action, but he's not aware of how it kind of is perceived by other people. But I can't really quantify it, but I can tell you.
I get the gist of what you're saying. Yeah, I definitely get the idea. And like as I said at the beginning, with regard to these kind of factors, like it will play a small role, and like obviously for a guy who's a 6, having these additional things that you said about might bring it up to a 7, but as a whole, like it's not going to be the only factor.
But yeah, that was my last point. But thanks again for having me, Alex. Great points.
It was fun.
Thanks a lot.
Cool. Thanks to both of you guys for coming on. Thanks everyone in the audience for joining us. We appreciate it. And we'll do more of these in the future. Thanks, guys. Until next time. Peace.
Thanks a lot.